Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I am here to have a family conversation about what we call pandemic politics. And pandemic politics, I think everybody knows what we're referring to. We're talking about just this environment that we're in, just all the chaos that's kind of happening around, all these viruses and variants of viruses and variants of variants and everything else is coming out, and then all the political implications that are occurring as a result. And so we're going to have more people come in tonight, but the two people that are with me today, I have the honor of speaking today with Dr. Christina Parks, who, if I want to see if I can say this right, has a PhD in cell and molecular biology from the University of Michigan, which just beat Ohio State. Did I say that correct? Mm-hmm. Dr. Parks? Oh, it looks like you're muted.
Sorry, I muted myself. You just did say that they beat Ohio State, so yeah, you said that correctly.
Yeah, it took a lot. It took a lot for me to cough that out because I'm a Buckeye. So that
wow, that is.
Yeah,
I went there for 8 years and I never went to a game, but my son was pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm having some shortness of breath just having to make that statement, but hey, that's my test of manhood. It's not how you handle winning, it's how you handle defeat. And so congratulations to the Wolverines. And Maj Toure, Mr. Maj Toure, founder and CEO of Black Guns Matter. He's out of Philadelphia. How you doing today, Maj?
I'm good, Doc. It's good to see you all again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to see you too. And so others will join, and I know Jay Morrison was invited as well as Dr. Maurice Green. So I'll figure out if they're on, where they are in the process. And I think that they're important to have as part of the conversation because I want everybody to. I want to lay the ground rules in terms of how we discuss this on this platform. I believe deeply in freedom of speech, and I believe in freedom of thought, freedom of expression. So if you disagree with the panelists, that's okay. It is your right to disagree. We are not running a cult. We are not forcing you to take on any of the ideas that are here. But we do believe in having open conversations and allowing all of us to just share ideas and perspectives so you can make the best decision for yourself. That's the first rule. Second thing is, with my guests, I didn't get a chance to talk to my guests about this before, but we try to avoid two words. I hope you'll avoid these words in the chat. One is the V word that rhymes with Maxine Waters. And then also just anything involving like COVID, coronavirus, all that stuff, because you know how YouTube is. They will ban you in a second, and because they don't want certain conversations to be happening. But we're going to have those conversations because Dr. Parks, it seems to me that we're just kind of in this weird era right now where freedom of speech has just been tossed out the window. You can have stellar credentials on Tuesday and then be a complete quack, air quotes, on Friday because you said something that differed from what King Fauci and the other people are saying. Can you kind of speak to this environment? If you were to describe this environment now, say 10 years from now, looking back in the era that we're living in, what are some things that might come to mind?
Well, I mean, it really just reminds you of the Soviet Union, doesn't it? It reminds you of either a fascist or a communist state that is silencing any dissent. This is clearly much larger than about an infectious disease. It's the canceling and the censorship is what tells you that. Instead of explaining their point of view, instead of people don't actually come at me with the science, the people who make a decision that's counter to what I would make seem to be doing it on some sort of faith in talking points that only go just barely, about a millimeter deep. And so it's like, it's almost, you talk about the Matrix and being red pilled. It's almost like people do not want to leave the Matrix and they will do anything to keep believing that everything is okay instead of taking the chance to realize that maybe they've been lied to. And so I think that that's the biggest challenge. Unfortunately, many people have to be injured or have a very significantly adverse event before they realize that they've been lied to.
Well, let me ask you this, Maj. What are you seeing right now in terms of what's happening, with just our society in general? I think I know your opinion on the jab because he literally has a shirt that says "fuck that." and I'll say the V word. I told you guys we're not gonna say it on here, but because the bots will pick it up. But that I think we know what your perspective is on that. But what are you sort of seeing right now? I know you're a guy that's big into freedom and things like that. What are you seeing right now?
It's every movie. I can take for like I'm a movie buff. For years, I sold a lot. I made a decent living selling movies like DVDs. I pirated a lot of films.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It sounded really weird for a second. But anyway, it's gone now.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me mute myself if you're hearing any feedback.
No, you sound cool now. It's cool now.
Okay.
So in watching all of these different movies, you know, Dr. Parks said, you know, The Matrix, that's one movie that you could throw up from, you know, the year 1999, 2000, which they're making a fourth part that comes out like on Christmas, which was actually ironically written and created by a Black woman. And she had to sue like Warner Brothers and the Wachowski brothers to get her due for that movie and that trilogy. But anyway, there's another movie that comes to mind, They Live, with the wrestler Rowdy Piper from back in the day. And there was one scene where you know, that's the movie where the guy puts the shades on, and he puts the shades on, and you can see there's this strange group of people that aren't really they like human-esque, but they just want you to obey. So like all of the advertisements just say obey when you put these shades on, right? And like anyone that's not down with the like obey thing, like buy, consume, obey, follow orders. But you can't tell unless you put these shades on. And there's one scene where he's trying to tell his brother, the actor guy, he does a lot of voiceovers and stuff like this. I forget the brother's name, but anywho, it's one of the most strangest 80s movies fights because he's fighting this guy for what seems like a long time to like, man, just put these shades on. You'll see the truth. You'll see if you just put these shades on. And they fighting out, knuckle out, drag down fight. And he finally gets the brother to put the shades on. And he's almost like taken aback, like you weren't actually fighting me to fight me. You were fighting me to let me know and put me on to what things were happening that you just couldn't see. This is all I see right now. And don't get me wrong, I am a high school dropout. The vast majority of my life is self-study. I got a ton of books right up under me, right? So I'm well read, but a lot of my life has been predicated upon me reading situations with common sense. That dude looks out of place. I don't trust that situation. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but better safe than sorry. But the safe has to be based in me not doing or doing something based on what that gut is telling me. And then upon further review, I'll make an even better decision. That's how I've been able to move through life to a large extent. And one of the areas where I excel in is asking people that know more than me. So if I ask someone that has a PhD in all of the things that Dr. Parks has a PhD in, and she's not getting funding from WHO or Fauci and those guys, right? And then she says, this is the actual information. You do what you want with that information. Okay, cool. That's what's not happening because people are afraid to, once you know, now you have to be responsible. It's so much easier to just be like, well, they just said I gotta like boop and or one and then two and then booster and then this and then that. This is what they told me. It's much more difficult to say, how much water have I drank? What's in that water? Does purified water actually mean good for me, or does it mean it's stripped of some of the essential vitamins and minerals that I might need? These are questions that create the space where a person generally doesn't want to put on the glasses. Going back to the Matrix, and then I'll turn it back over. There's a few statements in that movie where they finally took Neo out of the Matrix and they were rebuilding his muscles because his muscles had atrophied. And he was on the operating table and he said, why do my eyes hurt? And when he said, why do my eyes hurt? The question then was, because you've never used them before. You've never used them before. And I think this is one of those spaces where we have people, even the people that are waking up, they're kind of like, well, what do I do now? Maybe it's just easier for me to just do this and not have to question it, not taking a moment to go, and I don't care where you land on it. I just want to know if you've made an evaluated decision based on the information that you have at hand. And I think right now we have some people that are a little bit afraid, not necessarily of the repercussions of not taking it, because that's there too. But it's more, to me, it seems like there are people that are afraid of the repercussions of not just going along with the accepted narrative, because now it makes you responsible. It makes you have to go to places, businesses and like that. It just makes your life a little bit more difficult in the short term. I have to now find a business that won't ask me these questions, you know. But if you've been really, you know, supportive of Black economics, you're used to that. I have to go out of my way to find a Black-owned business that I can give, or restaurant that I can give my business to. So if you're already in that practice, you know, it's just more of that practice, and it's a little bit more responsible.
Well, you know what's interesting is, and I see Jay Morrison finally joined us. Good to see you, Jay. Welcome, brother. You know, it seems to me that one of the things I've noticed is that there's a lot of pressure being put on people, you know, to conform. Like to Maj's point, Jay, it seems to me that it's suddenly become unacceptable for me to have my own opinion. And that's a problem for me. That's very strange for me. And so even if I believe all the viruses or the variants or not getting the booster was going to kill me, isn't it my right to just say, you know what, I'll pass? You know, it's not like everybody's dropping like flies. You know, 99.8% of us, 99.9% of us are fine. What's wrong with me just, you know, being a free Black man and not having to conform in order to simply go to the movie? My daughter, and my wife, they went to see a play this week. They went to see Frozen in Chicago. I couldn't go see Frozen because I don't have my papers. There's something wrong with that, Jay. What do you think?
I do agree with the perspective that everyone should be able to be comfortable in their freedom, right? Like, especially with amongst our community, we talk about liberation and we talk about being oppressed, right? So no one's freedom should be oppressed. Now, I do see, so I see both sides a little bit. Like, I barely see both sides, I'll say this. I went to RZA's event at the Black House in Atlanta, and I got to hear him lead a panel with two holistic doctors, et cetera, and I think one doctor in the actual system, so to speak, and from our panel that we had. And I definitely felt glad that my wife and my daughter haven't gotten the vaccine. And for myself, I feel like I don't regret that I did get the jab, the shot, the vaccine, but I do.
By the way, just so you know, you didn't see it in the beginning. We're gonna not use the V. We're gonna try to use the V word.
Okay.
Because, you know, they banned in YouTube channels for saying certain words. Well, go ahead, brother, please.
Okay. All right. Just jab talk. That's all.
Call it the jab. There you go.
Just the jab. So anyway, it made me second guess it. I just think that's the beauty part of it, though. For us to get informed, be able to build, be able to make an informed decision for what works for you, be able to even regret or second guess that decision. Maybe someone who's not getting it, something happens to you close, you feel like I should get it. Maybe, right? So I just think the whole free will thing is just dope. It's something we should advocate for. It does suck that like you need, like for instance, on film sets right now, most film sets, like, you know, Ernestine's an actress. We're producing a movie right now called Scheme Queens. We had to get everyone test in order to be on that set. So sometimes as an employer, it's the responsible that you have to do to also protect those rights who, you know, right? So it's kind of a weird thing for how do you protect a best practice as an employer, or right, say for you going to that play or that show, you know, something break. Yeah, so it's kind of like, so I get an employer's right. My whole point is I get an employer's right or business's right to say, hey, to be in my establishment and business, I'm gonna need your vax because that's just my standard, even though that might be from pressure from somewhere else, whatever the case is. But lowers their exposure or feel like it fits them. So I just kind of like, I get both rights to do business how you need to do business, but also for an independent citizen, so to speak, to live their free life, how they live their free life.
Yeah.
Okay. So Dr. Parks, let me ask you this. What would you say if there were people who, when people say, we need to get the jab so we can be safe. We need to get the booster so we can be safe from whatever the jab didn't cover. There's a new variant coming out. Watch out. What are you seeing? Just as a biologist, when you're hearing the medical talk in the media. Oh, I think she's muted.
Yeah, I was muting myself just in case. I still have my family here, so just in case they wander through. I want to address the idea that businesses have any right to mandate this. This is mandating a treatment, right? This is like saying, hey, I need you guys, there's a chance that you could all get cancer because occasionally we're exposed to this chemical. We need you all to go to chemotherapy. This is the same thing. Okay, because it doesn't prevent transmission. It doesn't prevent anybody from getting it. In fact, all of the science shows that what it does is it actually makes you an asymptomatic spreader where you still have high viral loads. You're still spreading it. It may, in some cases, reduce your symptoms. In other cases, the new variants, it has very little, if any, ability to reduce symptoms. To me, it's mandating an experimental treatment that only affects you. And so this means like your employer could say, hey, I need all you ladies to get a hysterectomy because, don't want to lose those hours by someone getting pregnant. To me, it's exactly the same thing. I see really very little difference. The global effect on your body is so great that, and in terms of what's happening now, I think one really important thing to understand is that God didn't make a mistake when he designed our immune system. So when you see a virus, like some of us have had jabs, especially way back when, like the MMR and things like that, and those are live viral vaccines. They're live viruses. And when your body sees a live virus, it goes forth in a multifaceted response. There are many, many different parts of the immune system. The jab only activates one small part. And because it does that, it mistrains your immune system so that when you see the new variant, it's not going to recognize those. And so those people who have gotten that jab, there's a good chance that they're going to get every new variant that comes down the line. Now, when you have natural immunity, it sees all the parts of the virus. It has a multifaceted response. It activates many, many different parts of the immune system. And any one of those is capable of shutting down a new infection. One of the things it does is it produces IgA in your nose and throat, which is a neutralizing antibody that is capable of neutralizing those variants. Like you can get it, maybe start a slight infection, but it doesn't progress any further because those antibodies neutralize it. The jab doesn't do that. It also, every time you see a new variant, it has a multifaceted response and it has many, many different antibodies. And actually it just tweaks it. Because I say, hey, let's get a little bit more over here. So it actually gets a fuller, more robust response every time you see a new variant, making you that much more immune. Where because of the way this is just like a subunit, what it does is it trains like just say you have a bicycle, it trains it only to see the wheel. The wheel mutates or falls off, or it has a different wheel. So now you've got, instead of a bike wheel, you've got like a mountain bike wheel. It doesn't recognize that. And so it will allow you to become ill. Whereas if you have the multifaceted response, if it sees the handlebars, it knows what it is. If it sees a little sprocket over here, it knows what it is. It knows that virus down. Okay. So that's my perspective.
Interesting. Well, one of the things, Maj, that I think really got to me a little bit in terms of trying to understand what was going on is as we learn more about this, it seemed that the conversation started with do this, everybody do this, or you might die. Yeah. Right. The threat was death. Like, and when you lay that out, just in all fairness, like if you let me know, like me and my family might be dead, I'm going to hear what you have to say. Like, what's your recommendation? Right. So I think everybody was really attentive. I think people were ready for whatever, willing to make the sacrifice. And then the threat kind of went away. I mean, Big Pharma popped in with, they're going to make their money. We know that, right? And some of what they do might be okay, maybe, who knows, right? And they're developing all these responses, all these treatments. Now, I think today, one of the Big Pharma, I don't know if it was Merck or whoever, came out with a pill to literally treat the virus at home. This literally came out today, where they literally have a pill now you can take. If you catch it, you can take it and you can get better at your house. And I think that a lot of people, I'd ask the audience, if you heard that your friend caught the virus, let's call it that, do you feel like they're gonna die? Like, how many of you believe if your relative says, "Hey, I got it," oh my God, how many of you are like gonna start planning their funeral and just like, okay, let's prepare for what's gonna happen with the kids. We need to go and get your will signed. Like, how many of you are gonna really start making death preparations, put them in hospice? No. You're not doing that, right? It happens. Most of us know people who caught it. They get better. Some of them have no symptoms. So, Maj, it seems to me that since we've got to the point where it doesn't ring the alarm bell, I almost feel sometimes like media is trying to say, no, you be scared. We need you to stay scared, right? Like, so right now with the Omicron thing, it seems like that's what they're doing. What are you seeing with this, Maj?
I just see, to your point of, and again, something that Jay said that I thought was very key. Freedom cuts both ways. Freedom doesn't just mean when my friends are vaccinated, I'm going to be yelling at them, because I understand how the state operates. I understand that the media is like the unofficial fourth branch of the government now, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the propaganda arm, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you are a well-intended person, that if you're a business, hey, I don't want any, my fiduciary or financial liability, that what if somebody on my set or my establishment can prove that they caught this here? I don't want to walk my family and my business into, that civil issue, right? So that's, if you're a well-meaning person, you would anticipate that the state and media would tell you the truth. You would go, what would be the sense of them just straight up lying like this, right? And I understand that. But when you start looking back and you go, yeah, I have a very healthy distrust for the state. They've never created anything, generally, more specifically for Black people. It has not been something that has been like, yes, they hooking Black people up this time. And so when I look at that, and then more of the information comes out, because I legit went everywhere that they said this is a hot zone. I went there. I went to Miami, I hung out, I jet skied, I did everything the opposite of what television told me to do. Everything. And I was like, yo, I'll probably catch it. I got sick in March, was down for had the flu, got over it and moved on with my life. My point in saying all of this is I understand why that freedom needs to be respected. And if someone well-intentioned says, I want to take this. Okay, cool. Now the data comes out. Now the initial the government are liars, right? We put that away for a minute. You guys said 2 weeks to slow the spread, which is the equivalent of teenage guys saying, let me just put the tip in. Here we go 2 years later. So, and then with all of the data and the information, and then the censoring, RZA got how many pages taken at this point? So with all of the censoring about somebody saying what is supposed to happen is people like Dr. Parks, like nurses, right, that know what they're talking about. Doctors, they don't really engage. Doctors know this high-level stuff. They can't explain these big words to you. That's what nurses are there for. We didn't have
by the way, Dr. Parks isn't a nurse.
No. I'm saying.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry. Okay, my bad. Go ahead,
please. Like nurses actually are good at like explaining this concept. That's true. The general public or doctors generally, like operational doctors, they like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna give you a new heart. I'll see you after this surgery, right? But the nurses can explain. So because people aren't explaining, that are doctors to the laymen or lay people, like Dr. Parks is, right? Mm-hmm. The information is missing. And then when you go, okay, now let's see what they do when people start saying, hey, I tried this, ivermectin, or however you pronounce it. Hey, I've tried this holistic approach. When you have doctors that have treated thousands of patients with these things that are easy to produce, inexpensive, then those people get shut down. Then I knew, yep, my initial distrust for government was correct. The difference for me is I'm not judging anybody. because they moved off of a well-intentioned, well, what's the worst that can happen? And what's starting to happen is across the country, we're seeing in international, soccer is the most popular sport in the world. We're seeing droves of soccer players who were forced to take this thing, right? Falling out. All different age groups, like dying on the field. Different countries, like just they're running. The vast majority of them, heart issues. What do they tell you at the bottom of that? Hey, bro, this may enlarge your heart. You may have some heart problems. So the respect for the freedom of the choice still needs to maintain, because the government will use that as well to make it a house nigga, field nigga argument. You guys separate and work against each other. Don't respect their choice to do it, because the state overall, again, was the problem. The state was lying to everybody the whole time. Then the same people that they said were heroes last year, heroes. I know nurses and people, medical professionals, they gave up so much of their time. Then they turned around and said, if you don't get it, we're firing you too. So my healthy distrust for the state has been, that's been my, antibody. It's been like, nah, I don't trust you dudes. I'm good. And then still, we got to make sure that we're still supporting Black people, or anyone that you choose that made a decision because they got initial information, and time is showing that media was lying, and governments and World Health Organizations, they were straight up lying. So we got to maintain the fight and not then start to infight amongst each other, and just recognize that, again, the state is the problem here. They have been the problem the entire time. They've been forcing people. They've been working with, big tech to censor spaces to say, hey, we just want to evaluate what you said over the last 2 years. We want you guys are then turning around and saying, yo, let's make sure that the actual results can't come out to the 50 years from now. So these are all things that I'm just like, nah, my healthy distrust for the government and comments, it's just street sense. It's like, nah, these dudes are bad, so that's my take on it.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, that's you made a great set of points. It reminds me of when Dr. Parks was giving her excellent testimony before the Michigan House of Representatives. And you said, I thought about it when Maj talked about not finishing high school, but we can all see he's brilliant and he's well-read and everything. But you said that the two groups of people that were most hesitant were either the highly educated or the people that didn't necessarily have a lot of formal education, but other forms of education and knowledge, right? Like common sense. And they were staying away from it, right? And I find that really interesting, because my wife and I have a lot of conversations that would probably be disallowed in public. And, we worked hard for our PhDs. Like, we really read a lot of books and all this stuff. And it's just fascinating to me, Jay, to Maj's point about division. And by the way, Jay Morrison, Maj Toure, and Dr. Christina Parks, that's who I'm speaking with, everybody. I should make sure I mention that. Everybody should follow each of these individuals. So Jay, what I like about your perspective, and the reason I'm so happy you participated in the conversation, is because I did not want those who chose to get the jab to feel left out, excluded, mistreated. I really insist, no matter what your choice was, you take the high road. And I think it's okay to say, you know what, I can still love you even if you made a different choice from me. I felt very uncomfortable. I think a guy in the Griot wrote an article where he said, if your relatives didn't get the jab, they shouldn't be invited to Thanksgiving dinner. I was offended by that, because gathering at Big Mama's house is sacred. That's important. Like, why? I'm not going to fight you over Joe Biden or Donald Trump. I'm not going to fight you over any of this, because you're my cousin. You were with me in the 80s. We're not doing this. So right. Jay, because you're such a champion for unity, and you understand balance and how to move forward together. How do we kind of do this? With you as a business owner, having to take some of the precautions that you take and dealing with different sides of the fence. How do we move forward in a type of unity where our community doesn't get fractured by these external factors?
Well, first and foremost, for our answer, let me greet my brothers and sisters. I did, and my fellow panelists, Queen Doc Parker. Good evening, Queen. King Maj, peace. Great to see you. And of course, my big bro, King Dr. Boyce. Love, and always a pleasure to be on with you. Man, Maj made one. Dr. Parker just I should be taking notes right now. Not actually participating in the panel. I should be taking notes right now. I should have a notepad handy. So I'm missing out on gems and bars, and definitely I have some questions for you, Queen. We can talk about it later. Maj made so many great points in some very tactful and hilarious ways too. At the same time, drove home some points, and I just think about like when it comes to unity in our community, like what? Okay, so now we're dictating what viruses are okay. Like, all right, so if I might get the COVID virus, I can't come around. We got a beef. But what about herpes? Or what about HIV? Like, what about the cold? What about if I didn't get a chickenpox shot or a measles shot? Like, so my daughter and my wife, they don't want to get vaccinated. We don't vaccinate our child. We can't come around. Like, we can't like get like so caught up in the hype. And I think what Maj said that really stood out to me was the censorship piece. That is scary. The fact the way they're censoring just information, like, yo, let the information be let it be equal misinformation. Like, let it be equal BS. You know what I mean? Like, don't censor. Like, that makes you raise the double eyebrow. Like, what's going on here? Why are we censoring? So, yeah, I just feel like from a unity perspective, it's like, it's just have respect. You know, Marcus Garvey talks about it all the time. It's just Black dignity and Black respect. So it's like, I have enough self-dignity and self-respect to have dignity offered, reciprocated, and respect to you for you and your decision. Your decision on your religion, your decision on your political party, your decision on whether you're this or you're that, your decision on vegan or non-vegan, your decision on sexuality even. Like, I don't have to agree with everything to also still respect your decision. And as Malcolm X taught us, to put all that in the closet and keep our unity, keep our justice, keep our freedom, keep our fight first. You know what I mean? So that's all about the B1 movement. It's like, let's keep that first. And other stuff, yeah, we can argue and debate with respect.
Right.
Okay, well, I like that. I like that word respect. Everybody in the chat, type that word respect if you agree, because I think we need to walk away with this, with something that makes us all better people. Because I'm just not gonna fight you over something like that. I might fight you over something more important than that, but I'm not gonna fight you over this. I'd like to make one last round with all the experts that are here, and I want to also remind everybody that Maj Touré and Vicky Dillard are actually doing. Not Maj Touré. I'm sorry, Mirza Islam and Vicky Dillard are actually doing an event. I'll share the link here. This is where they're going to get together and have what they call a 911 conversation about what's going on with the pandemic. If you're interested, feel free to go to flynubianmedia.com and you can actually join that conversation. It's off the grid. It's flynubianmedia.com. I'll put the URL on the screen. If you want to join Vicky and Maj, it's going to be December 5th. And they have to have it in private because some conversations you can't have in public. And they're going to do deep dives into this. So I'd like to go to each of our guests and kind of get a closing thought. So Dr. Parks, you can speak on anything that comes to mind, but I'd be curious to know, I'll tell you this, when I saw your testimony at the Michigan House of Representatives, I don't know how many of y'all saw it. Y'all say yes in the chat if you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, you need to go watch it. My wife and I were jumping up and down. We were like, yes. And she came in with these impeccable credentials. They couldn't knock that down. And then she laid out facts that just were mind-boggling. I was like, how did this lady get on TV? Wait, what? How did this happen? And then at the end, you dropped it. You dropped something that I thought was so powerful, where you spoke to the impact of the marginalization of Black people, and that really made me just love you to death. My wife and I just have so much admiration for that. But also, there's that other side of wondering, what's her life been like since that's happened? I'm sure you've gotten a lot of support, but I imagine like you're a real threat. So how are you kind of balancing that? How's that going for you in general?
I think it's going well. A lot more support. I'm not in the system, so I don't really have like a lot of blowback, but I'm really, really, really censored. So, because like I look on YouTube and you can find some really weird stuff that's kind of questionable as to whether it should be allowed there. But yet here I'm talking about basic science, and Reza put up some stuff up that I said. I mean, it was taken down almost immediately off of his page. And some of the other stuff he said, I would think would be way, way more questionable than a PhD spouting some science. So, I mean, that tells you what you need to know. And that's why many of our friends and neighbors are taking this, because there is it's not being allowed. The science is not being allowed to be shared. And it's also why we're seeing a lot of people stand up together, whether they've had it or they haven't had it. They're saying, hey, I respect my brother, I respect my sister, and I'm not going to let you destroy their life because of a choice that they made. And so that's what we're seeing, major demonstrations, major people getting each other's back. And that's what we need to do. And that's, where your movement is so central, and so many other movements are central, to say, hey, we're going to do for our own. We are tired of letting you control us with your dollars and your policies. And when we control ourselves, we can say, no, we'll set our own policy because we don't need you. And so there's really, and I mean, I'm sure they fear that, an alternate economy sort of coming alongside. And that's what we really need to do. I know I have an event with Dr. Avery Jackson in Michigan coming up at the end of the week and end of next week. And he's setting up an alternate healthcare system. He's a neurosurgeon. So this isn't like some fly-by-night person. He's setting up a whole alternate healthcare system in Michigan. And so there's a lot of people that are like, and the problem is getting doctors because they make so much money. It's, they're not quite ready to leave the system. Even the system's killing them. So, I would say we have to have that respect. But right now, that respect from each other is going to really cost us something. We're really going to have to stand forward, because this is war as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Well, I love it, and we love you, Dr. Parks, and everybody. Tell Dr. Parks how much you love her. You've always got friends, you got soldiers in this space, and we just I just thought your testimony was great, and your knowledge and wisdom is so appreciated. And so and I didn't see in the corner that my good brother T. Khalik is here, and I like talking to T, because T is just a smart guy that really. Whatever comes out of his mouth is usually something interesting and smart and intelligent. And so T, I'd like for you, before we move to Maj and Jay, and let each of you give your final thoughts. T, I'd like to get your thoughts on just the politics of this. I'm sure you have some thoughts about just even this week with this new variant. It's like, oh, we got this new variant, the South Africa variant, right? Which I guess if you called it the Chinese virus, that was racist, right? But now it's the South Africa variant, right? But I'd be curious to get your thoughts on what's happening in terms of media manipulation and just really fear porn that's kind of being thrown out there.
Well, we do know it is media manipulation, because if you come out with any type of different theory, or if you say anything against the media, you are going to be censored. And to me, I feel like this is a way to infinitely vaccinate us. Infinitely. It doesn't matter. We're going to get this vaccine, and then another vaccine is going to come out.
By the way, I got to interrupt you. We don't use the B word here.
I'm sorry. Jab. Oh, man, you see? Jab.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Go ahead, please. You're on the road, brother.
Okay. And that's a problem right there. It's just that right there is a problem, that we can't even talk about this freely for our people, especially Black people, who have a lot of advertisement to get them to take the jab. There's a lot of shaming in our community for Black people who are not taking the jab. You can see Kyrie Irving being shamed by other Black people. They got Stephen A. Smith, they got just all other sports analysis just shaming him to try to use him as the cudgel to get the Black community to whip us in shape. And another problem with this is that this is just unnecessary division. What they're doing to Black people, we already divided by gender. Now they're dividing us by who takes the vaccine and who doesn't. To me, this is just another Trojan horse to create unnecessary dysfunction on top of the problems that the Black community is already facing, to sit there and fight each other over who got the jab and who's not. And, my only thing is, if you have the jab, you're good. You're protected. Why are we fighting each other over who has the jab or not? And you don't even see enough Black people in the media, our quote unquote Black political talking heads. They never talk like this. All they do is they separate us. They shame other African Americans who speak out against this. Instead of bringing you on the platform, bring on Maj Touré on the platform. Bring on Dr. Parks. Bring on the dissenting voices. Have a debate. Instead of just shaming them as if we're just some weirdos working for the right. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is all by design. And and I'm just warning Black people to please, when it comes to the media, especially when they put Black people in the media, they're not going to put the best of us. They are literally shifting through certain type of Black people to push a message, to socially condition us to think a certain way, because they know we move in a hive. We move in a hive mind. We all do one thing. It's not like diverse. So yeah, we have to watch out for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, Maj, it does seem interesting. You made an interesting point earlier that I really clung on to, where you mentioned you basically, it sounded like you were saying, since when did they care so much about Black people? Like, what is this suddenly? Oh, we need you all to be healthy. It's so important to us. They don't have the track record. So, Maj, please go ahead, brother. What are your thoughts on that?
On the last end of it, you know, the Sankofa bird is the Adinkra symbol for, you know, Black people to know your future. You got to know where you was at, you know. And when you just look back, you look like you could tell the future because you just remember history, you know. Any smart elder that I know is not gonna just at least question it, you know. And I just want us to do that. And again, tying it back into what pretty much everyone is tapped in on is, yo, your decision, unless you're making, when you make an individual decision and you can articulate, yo, I was thinking about it this way and this is why I tried it, right? That's good enough for me. If your decision is not, if it's individual and if it's not putting the Black collective, you know what I'm saying, at harm's risk, you're not ratting us down. Yo, they about to take over. You know, they building this whole thing called the Black House. So let's just get it out the way. If you're not doing that, we can still work together. Yo, that's your decision. I understand it. Listen, the level of contradiction that I would have to be existing in, this is cancer. This is cancer. If I'm not careful, if I smoke too many of these, I will get lung cancer. That is a decision. I'm going to work out. I jog. I'm going to do some cardio tonight, 4 miles. I'm going to do everything to somewhat balance this one cigar that I have per week out, right? If I was to, you know, get mad at somebody for taking something that was packaged to them as, this is going to help you, I will be a walking contradiction. Your choices are your own. Have enough empathy for people if they are not actively doing things to sabotage the forward movement of Black people. And again, just to be clear, this does not mean we're trying to hate all of the other backgrounds in the world. It's just saying we want our community to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. That's all.
Can I add on to that really quick? Because the political nature of this is very infuriating, because they are presenting this as a left versus right issue, meaning if you are pro-vaccine, you are on the left, and you are anti-jab. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, pro-jab.
Yeah, this is last. If you are pro-jab, you are on the left, and you are anti-jab, you are on the right. That's problematic, especially for our community, because in our community, we don't like Republicans, and there's various reasons behind that. But by doing that, that stops our people from thinking. It stops us from doing what we feel is right. It stops us from doing research for what we are about to put in our bodies. And to me, that's problematic, because now we are controlled by force. Because if you're not with us, then you're with those races over there. So choose, and that gets us fighting one another, calling each other coons over a difference of opinion on what we put in our bodies.
The play, but that's what the state been doing the whole time. None of this stuff could have worked without the sanctioning from the state. Racism, I don't like you Blacks, I don't like you whites, I don't like you Asians, whatever, insert whatever group. It would just be voluntary association if the state didn't sanction it. So when a business decides to say, you know, yo, if you choose to wear a mask or if you choose not to, I don't care, do your thing. The state jumps in and says, no, those businesses that have to now, if they want to stay in so-called good standing and not lose their hair license or their barber's license, whatever, or their food license or whatever, they're doing it from pressure from the state. So when people step back and look and go, yo, none of this would be, you would just have voluntary association. I'm a libertarian. Yo, you want to take the jab? Cool. Yo, you want to smoke a cigar? Cool. Or not cool. Like, but it's your decision. When it starts to become the state making people and sowing that division, I want Black people to really, really step back from the elephant. Remember that Sankofa bird. The government has never really helped Black people. And if they never really helped Black people, why all of a sudden this amazing push for equity? If you want to help the Black community, listen, don't give us the jab for free. Give us $1 trillion in reparations. And there's enough people in this group chat right here that can figure out we're going to get some land, we're going to get some real estate, we're going to get some investment, we're going to get our own doctors. Give us the money. Since you're printing it out and since you want to help us so much. You know what I mean? And so that's really my take on it. Help us by give us money. Give us money. And if we just happen to give it all back, then that's on us. That's on us. But give us the money. Don't give me my reparations don't fall through, your needle and your experimental gene therapy. No thanks, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're going to help you by having you, Maj, as the first Black person under some corporation to talk to Black people about their jab. That shows progress by putting you on that stool. You're going to still have a white boss, though, but that's how they're going to present it.
Well, it is
I'd
funny.
like to jump in here a little bit because when we're talking about help you, I guess this is where my anger is, because when I'm looking at the science, I know it takes about 20 to 40 years to go from when we discover something to when people actually know it. But we know that Black people form twice the antibodies in response to both RNA viruses and certain jabs that have that in them, the RNA. And these obviously are RNA jabs, right? And so we know that it induces a hyperinflammatory response because we come from a very sunny region where the sun killed all the RNA viruses. So we didn't really need the same type of defenses against it as our northern counterparts. So we know this. We know many things about our genetics, that we could individualize our care, that we could take care of comorbidities. And interestingly, there's a drug, well, I'll just say this one, maybe it won't, starts with an H, been used as an anti-malarial for 70 years. And it actually is used in Black people to control metabolic syndrome because we are predisposed to inflammation through metabolic syndrome. And so, many people know that many Black people are a little bit heavy, that it's the inflammation driving the obesity. Like there's a cycle, there's biochemistry here that needs to be addressed. And they don't give a fucking shit about addressing the underlying cause. You don't hear anything about it. And so this is where I'm coming out. And actually, I'll probably be doing some videos for frontline doctors and some things like to address some of these underlying issues. And so that particular medication would alleviate some of the underlying predisposition to the inflammation of COVID in our communities. And yet they're telling us that's unsafe when they've been giving it out in Africa like candy for 70 years, and that hasn't been a problem. So I guess, that's why I'm an angry Black woman now, right? I get angry because all of the things that we could have been doing, they've squelched, they don't care. And then yet they're telling us we care about you, blah, blah, blah. And so when you see the lies so blatantly, it makes you very angry.
So Dr. Christine, to build with you on that and get some clarity, Dr. Boyce, don't mind. So 2 questions. One, it sounds like you're saying this is chemical warfare and a practice chemical warfare by likely intentionality or some kind of gross negligence of what works best and well with our people, our DNA, our genetics versus the genetics of others. Like, so all vaccines aren't made equal or made for equal antibodies or equal DNAs, right? So if I'm just trying to digest this for myself, right? So in a way that if it were, and the fact you were saying that there's other things that could have been given to us to even lower the pre-existing conditions that actually cause the fatal illnesses. If they wanted to help us, they could have not been giving us other stuff or giving us stuff that has worked for our particular genetics that could really reduce our like of death or critical illness from the vaccine. But they're not really doing chemically or medically, they're not really doing what's best specifically for us and really being irresponsible and offering us this other option.
Right. Well, I mean, I want to be clear that this is biowarfare against everybody. And the weapon is the jab. So because if you release a virus and it tends to be too bad, what if you get it, right? And so they're probably on these medications that actually work to prevent transmission, but it's much safer to make the weapon the jab because you control who gets it. And for all we know, are they all the same? My brother lives in a very, very upscale region of Chicago, and I was very concerned that he received it. He didn't even get a sore arm, not a sore shoulder, not anything. I was like, you didn't receive anything. There's no way. That spike protein is so inflammatory. I cannot believe that, people that are getting it that have absolutely no symptoms. And that was his second one. So, so it's against everyone. But I mean, Riza has quoted someone, and I'm not sure who it was, that says it used to be that you could easily control 1 million people versus kill them. Now it's easier to kill 1 million people versus control them. And this is where we're at. The most dangerous thing, as far as we are concerned, is a strong, independent black man, because he will lead the sheep out of, basically he's going to lead everybody out of the ghetto. And that's what they don't want. They don't want strong voices. They don't want strong information. They don't want the black community getting off their plantation, right? They want them controllable. And if they're not controllable, they're absolutely happy with population control. This is just where we're at. Now, from us, it could move to another community. It could be the illegal aliens. You bring them in here and they're completely exploitable, right? So this is about a government system using people to keep itself propped up and lying to them. They would rather burn down a building than put in a black charter school. Right? My whole life has been about education. And, you start like 30 years ago, because I'm 51 years old, thinking that, there's just some conditions here and there that if we tweak them, we can make things. And then no, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And why? Because the system wants these people controlled and stupid.
Yeah.
And not
I was
able
going to ask Dr. Park, are you ever invited to any of the black mainstream outlets, like let's say like the Breakfast Club or BET, just to talk, because you are offering a different point of view and you're very educated. So one would think that your knowledge would be good to spread amongst black people, especially how we're constantly talking about white supremacy. So we want to wake our people up against the media and what's going on. Are you invited on these networks to talk, just to give a different point of view outside of the mainstream media?
I don't know if they even know about me. I mean, I'm like banned. Like all the people that shared my videos on Facebook, that they had their accounts destroyed. Like I don't share anything controversial on Facebook. I have a Telegram page. I had to move immediately. I mean, again, I'm a scientist and I'm usually sharing science. I'm usually not even as free as I'm being here as far as what I feel issues with the black community. I'm sharing specific science and I give a citation, a paper every time, and I am cut off.
That's how they keep us controlled. They ban our intellects. Our intellects are never given a day just to expand and say what they have to know. And what's frustrating is that, they always want to try to pivot you or someone to the right. But where are all the other people bringing you on? At least if they disagree with you, have you on and have that conversation instead of just labeling you. And it's like the only reason why someone would go on Fox News, because that's the only person mainstream will give a platform to even reach other people. The other platforms are giving you that platform to talk. So it's just ridiculous that someone would label you and call you a right winger. It's just crazy.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not ridiculous. It's smart. It's Nip's last living tweet was, "It's a blessing to having strong blessing." So it's not. It's very smart. It's a badge of honor. It's a badge of honor. Yes, they know exactly who she is. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They know of her work and the ability, not even just to work. Okay, cool. Again, I very rarely see doctors that can translate information and data very streamlined to the masses. That's very dangerous. So no, they know what time it is, and it's a smart, tactical, short-term move to not highlight that voice. If I was the ops, I would do the same thing. I would do the same thing. It's like her, what? She can appeal to women, men, smart people, common sense people, and here are my credentials if you just happen to question it. So it's a very strategic move. That's the reason why, and I'll shut up. That's the reason why it's very important for us to make sure that we're maintaining the unity. Because again, I believe that most people that took the jab or do any of that type of stuff want to believe that y'all ain't still on that, are y'all? And the misinformation that's out there from those same so-called trusted sources, even doctors, they get kickbacks from farm. Y'all know how that go. The pharmaceutical department is drug dealers. I sold H. It's the same concept. It's just more zeros behind. They got way more zeros behind their number than I ever made. So my point in saying that is, it's smart. We just got to recognize the play in the playbook and don't let it divide us. Yo, bro, you took it. Make sure you're taking some health cleanse and look on your heart and change your diet up a little bit more healthy because you took it. Cool. If you want to take another one, I'm not going to allow that to make us fight against each other. That's how we win.
All right. Well, everybody, let me tell you who I've been speaking with, and we've been going for 55 minutes now. So with these busy, important experts, I'm gonna let them get back to their lives, and I hope you'll thank them in the chat. And I want to mention everybody's name, and then Jay, I'd like for you to get your final thoughts for sure, and then I'll share a final thought. We have Dr. Christina Parks, who has a PhD in stellar molecular biology from the University of Michigan, which just broke my heart by kicking my Buckeyes out of the championship race. I have to keep it every time I say Michigan. I got to think about that game because I'm very pissed off right now. I just want you to know that, but I'm happy for you. I'm kidding. And Maj Toure, founder and CEO of Black Guns Matter. And so when Dr. Parks needs her protection, Maj can make sure that happens because we need our guns as we're building our future. The other strong black man that's here is Mr. T. Khalik, who is a very insightful, very intelligent black man. He's exactly the kind of black man that they want to destroy, according to Dr. Park's theory, which I actually agree with. I do think the extermination of the masculine black male has been a strategy that's been applied in this country for a very long time. But again, the test of your masculinity is, can you survive the extermination? When you rise, when you grow, when you become strong, someone is always going to try to take what you have and defeat you. So are you able to win that competition, right? That's what biology is, it's competition. And last but certainly not least is Mr. Jay Morris, CEO and founder of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. He runs the Black House. And I'll say it 10,000 times. I love the Black House. My wife and I just got an office now in the Black House. And Jay is one of the great leaders in this country in terms of where black people are going next. So these are not tiny Negroes on this platform. These are all giants. Everybody here is a giant. And so speaking of giants, I'm going to pass the ball to you, Mr. Morrison, so you can get your closing thoughts, brother. What say you as we walk away from this conversation?
I think that Maj's last points were spot on. Keeping the unity first. And I would love to see some kind of like checklist or conversation around best practices for our brothers and sisters who got jabbed up. Like, instead of shunning you, we're going to actually assist, right? What could be things you might be looking at and face, and not in a sneak diss, passive aggressive kind of way, but in a, yo, we love you, we don't agree, we don't think it was the right move, maybe, whatever. But if that was a decision you had to make or chose to make, here's some things that we think can help, because the other side is not going to give you this information. So let's take care of our own, even our own, who made a decision or move that we don't agree with. Right. It's like if Maj smokes cigars and I don't agree with smoking, but I know there's some seeds he can take or something he can take for his lungs to help him, I'm not going to withhold that information because I'm mad at him for smoking cigars and you know it's going to kill yourself. You're stupid. You know smoking causes cancer. Why are you doing that? You're dumb. You're killing your legacy. Like, I'm not going to, like, we all got, listen, whoever has not sinned, throw the first stone. We all got something with us, that steak you eat, that something you do that is probably counterproductive to yourself, as Maj put, as long as it's not super counterproductive to our whole people, then you're my kind of black man or black woman, right? You're B1. As long as you're not doing intentional things to stop, slow down, divert, or distract our progression. Now, if you got some personal stuff that you might do that is a little like, whatever, we'll work with that. And we'll give you best practice for that. Iron sharpens iron, right? We'll sharpen you, iron. We ain't gonna just cast you out. So I just think we can use this whole jab conversation as a unity lesson and actually a scrimmage for us. Because this ain't the biggest thing we're gonna face. As a scrimmage for us, for how do we as a community deal with adversity, adverse decisions will always see my brother first, and my sister first, in our fight for freedom.
Well, I like that. Everybody, let Jay know what you thought about what he said. I mean, I think that's a great point, and it's exactly what I'm accustomed to hearing from you, because going forward is important. It's important to understand what's going to happen with our community. I will say this, my family's right in the middle of the Mason-Dixon line. Half my family got it, half my family didn't. And we just don't talk about it, thank God. But let me just tell you what happened. This is a personal story, but it's true. I thought about it. I was going back and forth. I just look for the information. I'm not trying to be a Democrat or Republican. I just want to be safe and be a black man. And I had a very close person that I know who's not nearly as political as me, who went to go get his first little jab, and then something crazy happened with his heart. I'm sure Dr. Parks probably immediately knows. I think it was myocarditis. Yeah, and he was mortified. Like, they rushed him to the hospital. He thought he was dying, and I asked him. I said, "Did you get that second shot?" He said, "No, I didn't." And that told me, what that said to me is that there's just something beneath the surface that's there, right? And I think that what we have that's really interesting is that you have people who got the jab say that they're worried about the people who didn't get the jab, but I know people who didn't get the jab who are worried about the people who got the jab. And so at the end of the day, it seems to me that the only appropriate answer is, do you. Good luck. I wish you the best. Right? That's it. So everybody who says, "Well, I really worried about you, Boyce. I'm really worried," I'm like, well, I'm kind of worried about you too, because it seems to me that both of us have put ourselves in a situation where there is a very rare event where if things go wrong for either one of us, both of us could die. Right? Like, so maybe there is a 0.1% chance that you could die and a 0.1% chance that I could die. So we're kind of even, right? So stop pretending to be superior to me, because that doesn't apply here, right? So long story short, I want to say thank you to all the guests. T came in, he arrived late, and I didn't see it till the end, brother. But I'm so glad T Khalik came through. I hope everyone will follow T Khalik on Facebook. He's super smart. He's a great guy. I specifically reached out to ask him to join the panel because I love the angry black man thing. I think that's really cool. And so T brings it because we need more angry black men. There's a lot of stuff going on that should piss you off. You should be angry. So all the angry black men, all the angry black women, speak up, because we need your voice. Thank you very much to Dr. Christina Parks. You could probably find Dr. Parks on Telegram. Just look up Dr.
On Telegram, Dr. Christina Parks.
Okay, Dr. Christina Parks on Telegram. So look that up. At Mr. Maj Toure, CEO and founder of Black Guns Matter. Maj is a smart guy. He's a free, independent black man, and ain't nobody gonna tell him nothing, because he's gonna go out here and conquer the world. And I support everything you're doing, brother. I can't wait to see you in Philadelphia. And also Mr. Jay Morrison, founder and CEO of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, creator of the Black House, which is, to me, one of the greatest spaces in the history of our community. And I encourage everybody to check out the Black House. And last but not least, I want to mention to everybody, don't forget that Vicky Dillard and Rizza Islam on December 5th are doing a special event together where they're going to talk and break down all this stuff on a deep level. So it's a private conversation. If you're interested in taking a look and joining Vicky and Maj on the 5th, you can go to flynubianmedia.com. The URL is right there on the screen. And I'm sure I didn't say Maj Toure, I said Rizza. Okay. I keep, for some reason, your names are interchangeable in my head. I don't know why. It's very weird. But Rizza Islam, Mr. Rizza Islam is joining Vicky Dillard. And so I want to mention that to everybody that's interested and wants to go deeper in this. So thank you very much to the panelists. Thank you very much to the audience. Everybody hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button on your way out. We are gone. God bless you. See you soon. Take care.
Peace.